Broadcasting from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Gas South Convention Center in Duluth, Georgia, it's time for Gwinnett Business Radio. Gwinnett Business Radio is presented by Regions Bank. Start building your financial confidence at Regions Bank. Member FDIC, an equal housing member.
And hello again, everybody, and welcome to Gwinnett Business Radio. Mike Salmond alongside Harper LaBelle. And Harper, I see you today. We're going to have a very interesting show talking about, well, the eyes and testing the eyes.
I like the way you're looking at this.
Yes, and if I could think of other puns, I would use them right now, but I can't on the spot. We are joined by Allan Hytowitz and Michael Hessing, and they're with a company called DYOP, D-Y-O-P Vision, DYOP Vision, and this is an invention, this cool tool that's going to help people measure their eyesight better, less expensive, and easier than ever before.
Yeah, this is a portion of this show is going to be where I'm learning stuff that I didn't even know that I needed to know. But now that we've had a different way of looking at it, and the inventor of this, we should just get right to it, because there's some very important stuff that will affect if you're having any type of vision issues or want to be able to understand and gauge where you are with your vision. I think we've got the right guy here with us.
Generally, we're never the smartest people in the room. At least I'm not today. We know for sure that we are not the smartest people in the room. So welcome, Allan, and welcome, Michael. Give us... and I'm going to start with you, Michael, because Allan's the inventor and the CEO. Michael, you're helping with the PR and everything. Give us a brief overview of exactly what we're talking about today.
Well, this new invention, this DYOP, takes vision testing a little bit further than the Snellen chart, which is your typical chart when you go to the eye doctor.
That's the ELT, the letter chart.
Yeah, and they have smaller lines underneath.
So every time we talk about the Snellen chart, we're talking about the one with the letters, so people out there understand, okay?
What I've learned from this, being a layperson, is that this test goes a lot deeper. It focuses more on the movement, on the color, and really how the eye works rather than just sitting and trying to identify a letter. So it goes a lot deeper. And Allan, who has invented this, kind of stumbled on it in a kind of odd way, in which, he was having trouble with a pair of glasses. I'll let him explain that in a second. And from that, he bought some fans. He'll go into it, and came up with a whole new plan of how to test for vision using motion and color and size and distance and gaps. It's an amazing discovery, and it's available now. That's the cool thing. Most people don't know that this particular test is available. It's marketable. It's ready for market, and we want to take it there, and that's why we're in here, to discuss a little bit more about it, make people more aware of it. And the hope is that maybe somebody might be interested in using it.
Michael, is it fair to say that necessity is the mother of invention, and that Allan's ability to understand a problem, and Allan, we'll just ask you, how did you come up with, what was the inspiration behind saying we've got a problem with the eye vision that I think I might have a solution for, and an alternate one from the way that everybody's been doing it for years?
And before you answer, Allan, I want to just preface by you. So you found something that's better than this eye chart that we've had around for hundreds of years, probably. 200 years. You found something that's better and easier and gives you more feedback on your eyesight.
Yeah, the standard letter-based test, otherwise known as the Snellen Test, is akin to Aristotle's mathematical model of planetary motion. It works, but not for any reason that has to do with the laws of physics. And I've discovered that I had glasses that were literally blinding me. In fact, it probably... for the 4 years I was wearing them, I was trying to figure out, did I have a brain tumor, early Alzheimer's? And the effect of the glasses was probably to drop my IQ by about 80 points. The good news is everybody who knew me liked me a lot better when my IQ was only 75. So anyway...
I aspire to have an IQ of 75.
Yeah, we're still
yeah.
trying to get there. So we got lots of friends, is what you're telling us.
Anyway, so what happened with these glasses that were making it impossible for me to work, I finally figured out that it wasn't internal, it was how I was able to see things because of the glasses. And these are progressive lenses where you have a range of vision from distance down to near, but outside of that range, in the peripheral area, the images are fuzzy. So if I want to look at something in the room, instead of moving my eyes, I have to move my head. So I finally got correct glasses, went back to work, had the best years of my career as a straight commission executive recruiter, and was wondering, was there a way of measuring the visual loss or this peripheral vision? How wide was it, or how narrow was the clear vision? And I was at a what I sarcastically refer to as a scientific supply store. This one is called Big Lots, and discovered a battery-operated fan with a spinning segmented ring. And when I looked at the ring through the side of my glasses, the image was fuzzy, and if I looked through the center, the image was clear. And I thought, wow, I can measure the clear area in the middle of my lenses. So I went home, and because I don't have experience in graphics, I spent 100 hours creating a spinning segmented ring that looks like what's in the pictures, and on the web page, and was really excited that if I looked at with 11 rings, looked at the first ring, which is 0%, and looked at the 11th ring, which was 20%, because the width of my computer at 3 feet was a 20% arc width, I could get to 4, and anything beyond that, the spinning rings were fuzzy, and there was color distortion because I had red, yellow, green, and blue squares on top, and when I went into the fuzzy areas, those squares became trapezoids, which is a technical term, and my apologies.
Sure.
But
did they change colors, or was it
no,
less clarity of the color if it was a blue?
The images, the colors got slightly, shape got slightly fuzzy, but what was a square became a trapezoid.
Okay.
So the big difference, too, is the old test, or the test that most people are using now, we're just looking straight at letters, straightforward. This is testing more of your preferential.
It allows
what's the word? I can't even
testing
say it.
Peripheral
vision.
Okay. However, the question is, with these 11 rings, how big should these rings be? So, I'm thinking about this, and I got up in the middle of the night and went into my office, and I had a row of rings, with little tiny ones and one that's like 4 times the size of that. And I discovered that if I was close, I could see all the rings spinning. If I got further away, the smaller ones dropped off, and there was a linear relationship. In other words, if I doubled the size of the ring, I could see it spinning clearly at twice the distance. And I'm thinking, this is interesting. I think I've discovered a new way of measuring vision. Because when you look at letters, because the letters are not consistent, not precise, you have a doubling of the size with the increase in the magnification needed to be able to see it clearly. It's a logarithmic relationship. And here I've got a linear relationship, and I've not only tested it at distances of 20 and 40 feet, I tested it at distances of 1,000 feet when I was at Boy Scout summer camp, and we built a spinning segmented ring that was 10 feet in diameter. So, in fact, I spent hundreds of hours after being given permission to use the educational wing of our synagogue with a laptop on top of a garbage can and my 100-foot tape measure in the hallway of the education wing of the synagogue, going back and forth, comparing the maximum distance I could detect spinning of a specific diameter just to verify it was a linear relationship.
Allan, one of the things, please forgive me for interrupting.
No.
I would imagine you're finding out all of this for you. How does it also apply to me and everybody else that's out there? Because we all have different vision, do we not?
Yeah.
But our ability to detect colors or the spinning, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise, what was the inspiration behind being able to include others as a part of the research that you were doing?
Well, part of the obsessive compulsiveness is trying to figure out how and why things work. And if someone is listening to this broadcast and is wearing glasses, what I discovered, there's an inherent error and excess minus in using static images. So if they're looking at a monitor or something in the room and push their glasses forward about a half an inch, they will invariably discover, because everybody uses Snellen to do refractions for glasses, that the image gets clearer, and if they're looking at words, they can understand the words better. In other words, by using the static letters to measure vision and do refraction for glasses, it actually is making you blinder and have a more difficulty having cognition. And every single one of the independent refraction studies using a DYOP versus the Snellen test has had the researchers get back, Allan, what am I doing wrong? When I use the Snellen test, I'm discovering the patients have an excess minus power in their refractions.
It's like overprescribing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And-
exactly.
Well, if you adjust your glasses while you're taking the test, isn't that cheating?
Actually, no.
Okay.
Because you're getting
Because I'm asking my glasses to help see what I can't see normally.
no. When you take the Snellen test, you're doing it without your glasses.
Okay.
And what happens is, invariably, the measurements they give you are a quarter to a half a diopter too strong. Now, the trick to compensate for it when you've got a non-diop prescription is to bend the nose pieces together so it pushes your lenses forward. And these are relatively new glasses because I had cataract surgery, which is the curse of old age. And invariably, I discovered I couldn't see what was on my monitor or read text because I was getting headaches.
Well, the other thing is, when you're using the Snellen gives you an indication of what you can or cannot see, and it does it in a very, very static fashion. So you're sitting there, and they're changing the distance and, trying to sharpen it up for you. What that requires then is also your judgment and your ability, your language skills, and being able to judge either one or two. In this case, when this test is given to a child as young as 14 weeks old, they can get an accurate visual acuity on the child. Now, why is that? The child doesn't speak. But there's something about this test that is more universal and less specific to language and judgment. So,
And what is universal about vision in children or vision in adults is a preference for motion detection.
there you go.
The humans that survived once the eye mechanisms was evolved, I'll use that term, may offend some people, but that's their problem, 300,000 years ago was designed to detect motion. So you could spot predators in game, so you could eat rather than be eaten. And in a child, motion detection is especially sensitive because you want to see where mommy is and daddy is. So if you have a spinning ring over here and it moves all of a sudden over here, which side of the screen do you think the infant would look at?
Where the motion goes.
Hey, you got it, yay!
Mike, I got one thing right. How about
Okay, so what happens is that you can use, as it moves from one side to the other, to track his eyes and his head. And when the image gets too small, you have a black and white image on a gray background with a dark gray stage. When it gets too small, the black-white gaps tend to merge. And all of a sudden, the child can't see it anymore. And you know you've gotten past the acuity endpoint when the kid starts moving his head back and forth, trying to enact where did it go? It's not saying anything, but you know the kid's looking for it. So then you make it slightly larger, and there it is. And then you move back and forth with the same diameter. What's also interesting is because my nephew's son is the grandson of my older brother who had dyslexia and migraine headaches, and one of the uncles of the 14-week-old son has epilepsy, which is also triggered by hyperstimulation. So we tested the infant in color, and we're gleefully able to verify that he has non-dyslexic perceptions of color. When you have a spinning ring that is blue on black versus green on white, and you have dyslexia, you tend to have a lower percentage of green photoreceptors in the back of your eye. So you're more able to see the blue on black than the green on white. And there's a 90% correlation to that preference in people who have dyslexia.
So there's this new and improved eye test that you have invented. What stage are you at right now? Is this available to the general public?
One, it's available to the general public. Go to DYOPVision.com and you'll have links.
And DYOP is DYOP Vision.com.
Right. And you have links to online versions of the test, and you have links to the professional version of the test. And there's a license you need to have for that. And anyone wants to, a doctor who wants to evaluate the test, we will provide him with a license for research purposes. And but you can literally test your vision. In fact, the simplest way to test your vision if you've got glasses is just to do what I said, move them forward, because invariably you're going to have, if it's a Snellen refraction, you may not realize it, but the dissatisfaction you have with your vision is because there's an inherent over minus in the Snellen test for virtually everybody who has glasses using it.
Over minus, once again, meaning
Too much power in the
glasses.
lenses.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Steve and Ashley finally got their twins to sleep through the night. But the thought of saving for 2 college tuitions kept them up at night. That's why they decided to meet with their Regions banker to build a Regions Green Print plan, a financial roadmap personalized for what matters most to them. Now Steve and Ashley are confident in reaching their goals for today and tomorrow. Start building your financial confidence with a Regions Green Print plan. It's free, and it's only from Regions Bank. Visit regions.com to find a branch near you. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Celebrate December at Buford Corn Maze. This December, the Lighted Forest Tour transforms your holidays into a magical adventure. Wander through dazzling lights, enjoy the festive atmosphere, and create cherished memories with loved ones. For thrill seekers, the Scream Zone is back with a spooky holiday twist, perfect for adding a little excitement to the season. And don't miss their special events, including fireworks shows on select Saturdays. It's the ultimate way to light up your holiday nights. Stay updated on hours, events, and more at BufordCornMaze.com. Your December wonderland awaits.
And welcome back. Let's get right back into the conversation. So here's a guy who's come up with this new eye test, new and improved, that's outside the industry.
Yeah.
How have you been received by the people within the eye industry?
Well, the idea here is not necessarily to take on the industry. You don't want to take on an industry that's developed. And the other thing is, you have to remember, your regular eye physicians and optometrists, they don't only do refraction tests. They do a lot more now. They do the tests for glaucoma. They have a lot of other equipment that they use to test your vision.
But has there been validation from the industry? Like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah,
great.
I've got like almost 24 studies.
Yeah. But the thing is, he and I are sometimes at odds with this. I don't see it as something to replace what's there. I see it as something initially to enhance what's there, to make it, sort of like a checks and balances. And what will happen is essentially, as people get to use this more, they'll say, well, maybe we ought to rely on this more than what's already existing, because, the schools are teaching Snellen. The optometrists going out in the field today are still using Snellen. And
Well, just the fact that it's 200 years old, it hasn't evolved in 200 years.
162. Please don't exaggerate.
But the fact is,
Almost 200.
The fact is, what this does is opens up the opportunity to enhance what doctors and even other health professionals, like if you go to the Motor Vehicle Bureau, And a guy like his age or my age walk in, and you take the test, you pass, and then, you could go out and have an accident because your eyes are not really being tested the way they should be. Mm-hmm. Well, you go to Motor Vehicle Bureau, and if they use this, they can actually detect a little bit better about how you're seeing. I mean, he had cataracts, I had cataracts, people get them, and the glasses can work for them and they can't work for them. So this thing might be a little bit.
For those that aren't able to see this, what are your ages? Just so that we can correlate. Because you mentioned the guys that are our age. I'm 61.
I'm 71.
71.
77 and feel every day of it.
Okay.
Well, we don't have to go there either.
Part of the research that you're doing, obviously with a new test, there are results that you get that have never been seen before. How do you manage logging all of that down, and then what do you do with it since? Like, you have pages and pages of notes here that we're looking at. What are you discovering? I would imagine that the sky's the limit because we've never done anything like this before, but your relationship between the eye and the brain and how you can correct things, maybe there's a more efficient way to be able to, other than just glasses, no, this is what you need. Right? There are some things with dyslexia that you brought up and some other situations. There's probably not enough time on this specific show to go over that, but what are some of the initial findings that had you with gotcha moments that I didn't even realize I was going to be able to study for this?
Well, when you ask a doctor what regulates acuity, the standard knee-jerk response is the brain. And it's really a lower part of the body, not the brain. And one of the breakthroughs is that you have red, green, and blue sensitive photoreceptors in the back of their eye, and I have figured out why and how they function. My Army training and Scoutmaster training in terms of reading maps and land navigation helped me realize what you have is chromatic triangulation. So that instead of 3 different points at 3 different distances letting you know where you're at, what you have are 3 different colors that have different focal depths that move back and forth, and that's the mechanism of how the acuity is controlled. Now, if you have tinted lenses...
Well, hold on a minute. The focal depth is the distance and the sharpness, right?
Yeah, of that specific color.
You notice how Michael is the translator here.
Oh, excuse me.
He was dumbing it down for us. Thank you. No,
that's just the reason. I think I almost embarrass Michael with how grateful I am and have been for his and another friend, Helen, helping me translate what I've discovered into human speak.
Yeah. As a scientist, though, you still speak not in Pig Latin, but I'm saying there are certain names, and this is what it's called. When you build a house, this is called a 2x6. It's not a piece of wood. There's specific names for it,
right?
And you're using that. Mm-hmm. And then Michael's dumbing it down for us regardless.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what happens is that if you have a tinted lens and you have a disparity where you've got...
So tinted lens means I'm wearing sunglasses or something else. Is that correct?
Yeah, sunglasses. In fact, you'll find these in the novelty stores and, people like Dollar Tree, little...
the tinted lens hut.
Yeah. No, seriously. The little piece of paper with either a blue or yellow translucent film in the middle, and you hold this over what you're reading, and it helps your eyes adjust and compensate for the fact you've got too large a percentage of red photoreceptors. There is very impressive study that as a lot of the people like those tinted overlays, and there's a whole group that's selling them, but even more effective than the tinted overlays are tinted contact lenses for getting rid of dyslexia, migraines, and symptoms of epilepsy, because the tinted contact lens tints the entire visual field.
Well, isn't it a big marketing thing now? If you look at a computer screen all day, that the light that you receive off of that affects your vision?
Yes, but not in the way they think it does. What happens is, up until I'd say 60 or 70 years ago, all of the light that shined upon this planet either came from the big torch in the sky, and if you are stupid enough to look at it without special glasses, you'll burn your eyes out, or from this concept called fire. that was a major cultural and scientific breakthrough. And then about 60, 80 years ago, they started having incandescent lights, and all of a sudden you're getting light from a specific source as emitted light. And there we've got one of the most interesting initial studies is when you have a projected letter-based test versus a computer-generated test. The computer test has the emitted light coming from the screen. And digital light from an emitted source is perceived differently than light that bounces off of a page from somewhere else. In fact, the whole concept of color perception came when I was talking to my wife, the school teacher, about the effects of emitted light, and she said, oh, everybody knows that. I was in the special education teacher's room just this afternoon. She had 12 kids in there with the overhead lights off, because when she turns the overhead lights on, like these fluorescent things above us, these kids go bonkers.
So fluorescent, LED,
Computer
if we go
screen,
outside
iPads.
and natural sunlight, they're all different. You may get different results depending on how you test somebody, depending on what light source is being used.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, you know, if you're looking at a navy blue suit and you want to see what it really looks like, you put it in front of the sunlight. Sometimes navy blue suits look like black suits until you put them in a certain light.
I use that all the time. When I as a football fan, when I watch the Chicago Bears play, if it's cloudy outside, they look like they're wearing black uniforms. But if it's sunny out, you can see the blue tint in it. That's just a clarity issue, correct?
Yeah, but that's a clarity issue in terms of vision transmission over the wires and over the air, and the cameras they're using. As an individual, it becomes more sensitive when you have this lower level of green photoreceptors in your eyes. If you have distance sensing vision, you have a higher percentage, 75% red, 20% green, and that not only gives you a better vision in terms of seeing distant objects, but the flip side of it is associated with dyslexia. I remember flying and talking to the pilots of the plane, and I discovered that the co-pilot has dyslexia.
Right, in the sky at the time.
Yeah.
Did the pilot know this?
Did he
No.
land okay?
You discovered it, though, because you knew what to look for.
But that's why I became a pilot. It's more relaxing for him to look at things at a distance. And
I don't want to cut him off, but I think we're getting close to closing the show.
So I want to pull us out of the weeds a little bit and ask you, where are you as a company right now? What do you want the general public to know? What do you want people in the eye industry to know about this?
Well, after extensive conclusive research, we are now at the point of marketing this. There are people in Australia that have proven certain things about how it works. There are people who have done some testing in color. And we're looking for experts to use the DYOP and adapt it as part of their service to the public. It's cheaper. It can help some doctors get rid of some equipment that they don't really need that much of anymore. And we're also interested in getting investments that can help us take it to the market more quickly. The DYOP, the discovery, we're on the cusp of completely altering how vision and other brain disorders may be diagnosed. And no doubt greatly in the future will increase business in the healthcare industry, not only in the ophthalmologic and optometrics areas, but in healthcare all across the board. Because like we said, imagine the motor vehicle bureaus using it. Imagine teachers being able to use it in school when there's a problem with a kid. Or
they normally estimate that about 20% of the school kids have dyslexia. The anecdotal research we've done is it's closer to 40%. And what's really scary, and this is the reason why I'm trying to contact as many educators as possible, I am of the opinion when you have a kid go back in and start shooting his classmates and teachers, it's because he's the academic and social reject because he's not a football player, not an athlete, not a musician, not an actor, and not a academic genius. He's this dumb kid over in the corner that everybody tends to want to ignore.
But he's not a dumb kid. He just doesn't know. Nobody knows how to recognize what the issue is.
There is a concept called the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Okay.
And I've discovered it applies to people who have dyslexia. They compensate for their inability to comprehend words by acting far more confident than they should. In other words, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a standard psychological category of behavior. I figured out why it happens.
Well,
Wow.
I think we need to let
Hey, do I need a degree or something like that? If I were to partner up with you, do I have to have some special, 14-letter vocabulary that I need to learn
No.
in order to be able to help others with not only discovering how this can be assisting them, but as a business?
Yeah, no, if you can walk and chew gum, you can help.
Okay,
One,
so
you
that
can use
excludes
the
me, Mike. You can
Okay,
help.
but you not only have dyslexia screening, but also the screening explanations and potential therapies for dyslexia, migraines, and epilepsy. The visual impairment test, I'm reaching out to Alzheimer's groups because you probably can use it to not only quantify how stoned or it doesn't work so well with people who are drunk, mostly ones who are stoned. But if you've got an old lady who has trouble seeing and passing that test, her way her brain operates, she might as well be stoned. But it can be, I'm strongly suspecting it can be used to quantify the mental deterioration associated with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Okay, well, we're gonna,
As we get, what we're going to do here is we'll give you each a couple minutes to kind of wrap up and say what you want in summary here as we get to the end of the program. So
I would
each
like
of
to.
you.
I would like to say that for people who may be interested in obtaining this test, getting it, using it, becoming research savvy with it, and even learning more about the technical side, contact Allan at DYOPVision.com. That's Allan, ALLAN, at DYOP, DYOP Vision.com, or call him at 404-281-7798. Once again, I can't push enough that we want to take this to market. It is, in effect, a simple test to use. Maybe not to understand the whole premise of it, but to use. It's amazingly usable. You can even do it yourself on an iPad, on a computer, on a phone, and it is ready for market now. Once again,
But everything that I have done over the past 14 years has been self-funded. And part of the reason why I dragged Michael and some other people into this, I have no experience in commercializing a product. Trained as a biochemist, learned in the military, don't piss people off, learned as a scoutmaster, keep people happy, but I have no experience in being able to commercialize something. So very much would like to have someone who can provide the funding for advertising, funding for marketing, funding for additional research and additional software.
it also doesn't cost anything to try it out.
You need Mark Cuban and Shark Tank is what you need, sounds like.
Well, I guess
As
the
a matter
government
of
needs more.
fact, I'm about ready for that.
There you go. Shark Tank, if you're listening out there. All right, again, there's so much more to this, obviously. It's very complex, but it's an improved eye test that gives you much more information. And the website, once again, is DYOP Vision, DYOPVision.com, DYOPVision.com. Did we get everything in, Michael?
Yeah, well, we just need to, one more time, say Allan at DYOP
That's email address.
Vision.com. Yeah, because I think they really need to talk to him. But ask him a direct question and give him 30 seconds to answer it. That's all you need to do.
He can't do it in 30 seconds.
That's the only problem you'd have with Shark Tank. You'd have to kind of keep it more concise. But thank you, gentlemen. Allan, Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you all for the sense of humor and tolerating this. And it's not easy being geeky. As a friend of mine commented that I complimented him for what he had said because he had made a statement describing something that I was going to say, and he said, wow, that's scary. It's like I'm inside your head. And I said, Fred, if you think it's scary for you to be inside my head, imagine what it is like for me.
Thank you so
and then
much,
your wife
Allan.
finishing your statements for you, right? That's a part of it as well. She answers all the questions.
All right. Well,
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Yeah,
for
thank
being
you
here.
so much. Very eye-opening conversation.
That was good.
Well phrased.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, without hindsight, of course.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Okay.
Perfect.
Enough of the puns.
right.
Harper, thank you. Anything else?
No, just there's. We probably didn't even go very deep into the amount of research, obviously, that you've done. So, gentlemen, thank you for at least giving us a
snippet.
tidbit of what is possible, and I'm sure there's so much more. We look forward to learning more along with you.
Yeah, well, our listeners will be able to contact him and get even a greater in-depth.
They can geek out on this podcast as much as they want.
Block out your morning, folks.
There you go. Thank you to Dan for producing the show. For Harper, I'm Mike, and we will see you next time here on Gwinnett Business Radio.